This is CNN Tonight. I'm Don Lemon. The President of the United States is racist. A lot of us already knew that. Today, President Trump, talking with lawmakers in the Oval Office about immigrants from Haiti, from El Salvador, and Africa, said, and I quote, "Why are we having all these people from shithole countries come here?" But you know who he did say he would welcome here? He said the U.S. should bring in more people from countries like Norway. And CNN is told that he went on to say, "Why do we need more Haitians? Take them out." Those comments are frankly disgusting. There's other language I'd like to use, but we are on television. But you know what? They're not shocking, not even really surprising, because this is who Donald Trump is. This is what he thinks. Apparently, we have to go through this repertoire every time he says something like this or exhibits some racist behavior.
What you just saw prior to this was basically, Don Lemon saying that Trump is a racist, blah blah blah, because he's allegedly said that these countries like Haiti or in the parts of Africa and some in South and Latin America are actually shithole countries. And there is some allegation that he might have said, why can't we just get some people from good places like, say, Norway, and then all hell broke loose. Now again, these are just speculations and only allegations. Trump has actually denied that this actually occurred. Maybe it did, maybe I wouldn't be surprised if it actually if he actually did say that, but so what? It is definitely the truth. It's not something it's not something that's racist. I mean, I would say that Haiti is definitely a shithole country. Because, well, take a look at it. You got sexual slavery, you got basically high poverty levels, high unemployment, and constant corruption. This is what's happening in Haiti, and we can tell this has happened for so long because, because of that earthquake that occurred. Thousands of people have died, and the government had every opportunity to build some new and improved buildings, but they just did. There's just so much corruption. Held their own parliament, presidential palace, or whatever. They couldn't act. It couldn't withstand what happened with the earthquake. It collapsed. I'm pretty sure there's still effects of the earthquake after a few years now. But here's the thing. Again, why is it so bad to call a country a shithole when it's the actual truth? I would say something like, honestly, this shouldn't be a discussion. A lot of countries can be shitholes. Countries because they're unstable. They have a crisis going on. Maybe whether it's political or social, and they may have bad unemployment, and that's perfectly fine to assume that. Hell, I hear on a lot of YouTube comments, and I'm sure that there are gonna be a few below that are talking about basically, because of the refugee crisis or whatever, Germany is now becoming like a shithole. I would have to disagree with that, but that's not the case I try to make here. What is so wrong about calling a country a shithole place to live? There is no way you would ever want to do anything with that deal with anything from that sort of place, because it's very possible that a lot of the problems they have would essentially just come over to our country and actually affect us. Now, I'm not sure if it would affect us in any way that like Haiti would happen, but it would definitely affect us in some form. and it would be fair to assume that, to be honest. I mean, look at the refugee crisis. It's basically a lot of the migrants from the Middle East and North Africa have been basically going north all the way up into Europe and basically there's been problems everywhere. In fact, there's actually been a case, I think it was either in Sweden or Germany, where because of migrants, the rape cases have been reported 10 times a day. And they didn't even think that's the correct number because of some of the rapes that go unreported. That's a problem. And this is coming from the countries that allegedly Trump calls shitholes. Again, I would rather have a system that's based on a meritocratic system where you learn basically the country's rules of law and speaking the language, instead of just simply having the person because they're simply black or Asian or something, because they're so oppressed and stuff, and we don't want to seem like racist or anything. How is that going to help? If they don't know the laws that we have here, they don't understand their culture, they don't understand basically even what we're saying, that's going to be a major problem. I'm not saying that in any way any culture is bad. In fact, I think it's fine that a lot of people would actually bring their own cultures into the United States and maybe even make it part of the United States. But there's a certain point where you have to look at what's the best of these cultures and what's the worst of these cultures, and whether or not we should try to assimilate people into the United States based on whether or not they have been doing things good in terms of the meritocratic system where they can speak English, they have good jobs and stuff, or we're just taking them because they're simply they're simply taking the claim of refugees. I now, don't get me wrong, I know that there's a lot of people who are actual refugees and stuff, so, and I'm not against helping them, but there is just a point where we have to still keep our guard up. Now, I'm basically getting off topic here, so I'm gonna continue on. CNN basically just continues on with this bullcrap with how Trump is racist because he's calling these nations who happen to be just black or Asian or Latino majority countries, and basically that's how they see him as racist. Don't they see the fact that these places have been in massive conflict for several decades now? Hell, my dad, he served in the Persian Gulf War and also in Operation Just Cause, the invasion of Panama. And his entire job while he was in Panama was basically to send troops over there to transport them so that they can take down Noriega, who was the dictator of Panama and who was profiting on like cartels and stuff. And as we already know, Latin America basically has that kind of problem. Even still, I don't know if it's a bigger extent or a small extent, but still, it's still there. And that's something that we don't want in the United States. Hell, I bet liberals would agree with me on that. Now, here's the thing. Pretend that Trump actually said this, and that some reporter did say something like this. Trump, if you would have to choose any single non-white country where to allow people to immigrate to the United States from, where would it be? I would be guessing that he would probably say South Korea or Japan. They have they have a pretty good economies. They have good employment. They have they're highly developed nations, and they're basically allies to us. So we don't really need to worry about them too much. yeah, we're still gonna need a bit of a process in terms of like English and also learning about our culture and how it's different from Japanese and South Korean, but still, I'm sure he would actually say something like that. Maybe even indigenous people from Australia or New Zealand. Maybe even Vietnam or maybe some of the Pacific Islands out in the Pacific. The point is, it's not bad to say a country is bad because it's because of how unstable it is currently. That is never an issue. And I'm tired of people's like CNN just saying that because, well, it simply serves their own narrative and their own agenda, basically to take down Trump, and basically calling him a racist. That's all I have for you for today. Before I go, I want to thank Very Fake News for allowing me to show this video with his own permission, and I love to continue on with a lot of this, and maybe we can partner up with more than just sharing videos and stuff. Maybe he can share my channel with some of his subscribers. That's all I have for you today. My name is Noah Mian from the Arc of Truth. Please subscribe to this channel, like this video, and comment down below. Thank you.